Senator Vance, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time for us.
Senator JD Vance, welcome back to Meet the Press.
It's good to be here. Thank you. Ask yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it, and so we covered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake.
General John Kelly said Donald Trump is a fascist. He echoed comments made by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, who also called him a fascist. Why should the American people hire Donald Trump when the people who worked most closely with him say that he's unfit to serve?
The people who worked most closely with him, most of them are supporting this ticket. You mentioned one person, two people, a disgruntled ex-employee, Kristen, who Donald Trump fired. He said something nice about him, and then he fired him, and now that person's attacking Donald Trump. But I think this is important because I think the American media has to be honest. Why is it, Kristen, that John Kelly doesn't like Donald Trump? It's not about personality. It's about policy. And I think the American people have the right to know that Donald Trump rejected the John Kelly, the Mark Milley consensus that America should be the policeman of the world. And because of that, these folks hate him.
All of these people have this horribly damaged worldview, and they're all just going after Donald Trump because they want to send people into war? That's really your argument?
Absolutely.
It's not like these are conservative.
Absolutely, that's my
These
argument.
are not conservative Republicans. These aren't conservative Republicans who are concerned about Donald Trump. They're not. That's not right.
All of these people, Jake, they came into office thinking that they could control Donald Trump. That when he said he wanted peace in the world,
Mike Pence thought he could control Donald Trump.
Yes, he did. And when he found out that he couldn't, they all turned on Donald Trump, and a lot of them got fired. And we're running, and we're trying to staff the government with people who are going to govern according to principles of peace and prosperity.
Let me ask you.
They're pissed off about it.
Former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney called you and Donald Trump misogynistic pigs. She urged voters to look at what you have said in the past, and she said of you personally, quote, "You've got a real women problem." Do you think your ticket has a women problem?
No, I don't think that we do, but we have to make our best case to women and to men as well as we can. And of course, women and men are going to decide where the chips ultimately fall. I think it's a more interesting reflection of Kamala Harris's campaign. She's going to Michigan with Liz Cheney, the person whose father is responsible for the deaths of millions of innocent Arabs and tens of thousands of innocent American troops, and saying effectively that if you elect me, I'm going to have the foreign policy of Dick and Liz Cheney. I don't think that message is going to fly in Michigan. I don't think it flies in Pennsylvania either.
They've actually not been talking about foreign policy. They've been talking about things you've been saying. They've been talking about the threats to our democracy. But
Liz Cheney's definitely been talking about foreign policy, Margaret. She loves to talk about how she would like to start wars with effectively every country all over the world. But Donald Trump is the candidate of peace. But I think they are talking a lot about foreign policy.
Donald Trump recently called his domestic political opponents, quote, the enemy from within, and said they are more dangerous than Russia and China. Do you believe that people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi are more dangerous than Russia and China?
0.5%
He wants to use
inflation.
the military to go after the enemy within, which is the American people.
He did not say that, Jake.
The enemy
he
within?
said that he was going to send the military after the American people. Show me the quote where he said
he was going to. He said the enemy within.
He said far left lunatics. He's talking about
the
people
Pelosi's
rioting
and Schiff.
He's talking about people rioting after the election. I think
the Pelosi's were rioting after the election.
He said
Adam Schiff was rioting after the election.
You're using two separate phrases. Donald Trump has said, and I agree with him, that we should use the U.S. military to go after Americans. People who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was what John Kelly was.
National Guard.
This was what John Kelly was alarmed by: the idea of using the U.S. military to go after Americans. That's what he said.
Donald Trump never said Americans writ large. You keep on putting words in his mouth and my mouth.
Are they or are they not Americans?
Far left people who commit acts of violence, who riot. And
now you're doing a very narrow definition of what he said, which is not what he said. That's not what he said. But let me ask you. Let me ask you the bigger
point. He did
question.
say that, Jake. He did. He said that he wanted to use the U.S. military. Let me clarify.
To go after far left lunatics, yes. And then he also added
people who were rioting and looting.
And
he
added,
never said.
He added Schiff
never said.
And then
you're imputing things. You're taking words out of context. You're taking two separate conversations and pretending that they were made at the exact same time. So I'm rejecting the premise of your question. I frankly don't believe what you're saying about Donald Trump's words. If you'd like to put up a clip and actually put him in context, I think the American people would realize that Donald Trump is a hell of a lot more reasonable than the people like Liz Cheney who would like to lie us into war. Why did Donald Trump deliver peace and prosperity? He didn't arrest his political opponents, as Kamala Harris and her Department of Justice have in fact done.
There's no evidence of that, Senator, that Kamala Harris has arrested their political opponents. The Department of Justice has not been going after political opponents? Senator, there's no evidence of that.
The current Department of Justice, under the leadership of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, has absolutely been going after the political opponents of the current Democratic Party. I think that's a disgrace, but it's happening.
Will your loyalty, Senator, be to the Constitution or to Donald Trump?
You took a vow, first as a Marine and then as a United States Senator, to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Can you assure the American people that you will do everything you can to stand by that and to make sure that President Trump abides by the Constitution?
Of course, but I don't worry about Donald Trump. I think that Donald Trump believes in the Constitution. It's why he's running for president a third time, is because he's worried that Kamala Harris has broken the greatest economy in the world, and
He's
Donald
talked
Trump
about
will
suspending
fix it.
the January 6th events. I don't have to retread the territory you well know about challenging the certification of the election.
I think that Donald Trump believes in the American Constitution. I know he does. I've seen it in his actions. I've talked to him about it. But you asked about me, and personally, yes, my first loyalty is to the American people and to the United States Constitution.
Mike Pence says Trump asked him to put Trump over the Constitution. If you find yourself in a similar position one day, will your loyalty be to the Constitution or to Donald J. Trump?
I just said my loyalty, Kristen, is to the Constitution of the United
Donald
States.
Trump?
But have we talked at all about the unaffordable costs of groceries? Have we talked about the fact that because I brought it up, but young Americans can't afford a home? You didn't bring that up. I brought that up. It's so interesting, Kristen, because I think that Kamala Harris's campaign, and unfortunately, too many of her media allies are more interested in what Donald Trump has said than what Donald Trump did in office. You're more interested in what Kamala Harris is accusing Donald Trump of than what Donald Trump actually did during his 4 years in office, which is deliver peace and prosperity.
Senator, as you know, inflation is coming down. Let me ask you about some of what we've heard here.
25% higher, Kristen, than it was when Donald Trump left the Oval Office to do Americans.
Let me ask you about some of what we've heard in the U.S.
feel
this week.
like inflation is a solved problem, then maybe they should vote for Kamala Harris. If you feel like the price of groceries, if you feel like the price of housing is too high, if you feel like inflation is not over, then Donald Trump is your man.
Right. There's no doubt folks believe that groceries are too high. Just making the point that inflation has come down.
I agree with those
Let me
folks.
ask you about
Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that. They wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more, because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win, and then we're being told
he's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
nothing anonymously sourced, or who
one guy who is a disgruntled employee.
I told you, five other people
pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest.